Huh?
Whoa, here we are. We're in a car. We're driving.
Oh, it is good to be back. Taking off the last week of filming, editing, story composition. It gave me all sorts of energy coming back this week. I'm excited.
Then I'm excited.
We forgot butter. It's like 10 a.m. and I got done working out at 8 a.m. That means it took me 2 hours to take a shower, drink coffee, have breakfast, and now head upstairs for writing. The problem is with it being so cold out is everything moves so slow for me. It's like so hard to get motivated to get out of the shower. It took me like 5 minutes just to get out of the shower. I'm gonna show you guys my writing setup here. We have to do that because it's 43 degrees up here in the attic. One of the things I do is I turn this little heater on right here at my feet when I read, and then over there when I write, and I feel like I'm in a fucking Charles Dickens novel and I have something meaningful to say. Anyways, this is my writing haven. I've been on these writing retreats the last few months, and the reason why I had to leave to do this is I had to tell myself that this project was important. And the way I told myself was by leaving my family for a week at a time, driving 3 hours to a place and isolating myself. And it actually took that to jumpstart it. My goal was to get a rough draft done by New Year's. I just finished chapter 17, rough draft. And I have 18, 19, 20, 21. Okay, that's really important. I should re-record that whole video, but... The way I start off my writing is by reading. So I start off reading classics, which is... I'm reading Les Mis right now, I'm about halfway. And I spend about 30 minutes reading that. And then I spend 30 minutes reading like different inspirational materials about the craft of writing. So these are some books I'm writing now about story. This is about editing, story, like business writing. And then I move over to the desk over here. And I usually light my candle. You guys saw I have my coffee over there. And I'll move to tea later on. I turn on my little lights. I got my stuff that the kids made me there, and some books that have been really influential to me over there. I like to flip this thing over there. Cammie bought me that. I have a view, the city there, and I just sit here and I fight against distraction. Last week I left my phone downstairs. I think I'm gonna do that now because it keeps you from checking crap. Here, I don't keep any windows open that are like Facebook or email or other bullshit like that. Last week, before I started writing, I cleaned every surface in this entire office. I dusted this, dusted that, waxed this, waxed that, waxed this table, moved all the furniture out and swept it. Otherwise, all I see when I'm writing is like all the little dust pieces everywhere, and it's totally distracting. This is 7 editing on Final Cut. This is a software that took me about a year to learn myself. The nice thing is of me spending a year is I can answer questions for him, which I never had anyone to just like ask questions to. I'd get like stuck for a whole day. And beginning today, we're gonna be filming. I'm gonna be filming and working on the story for the day, but I'm gonna be turning most all of the editing over to 7, which is a huge relief for me. And this is not something that we had planned at all. This is just one of those things that came up last week when we realized, oh my gosh, he can do this and he has time, and I think he would benefit a lot more than me from this part of the process right now. One of our mottos is to give kids as much work as they're capable of. In other words, if we're doing something that they're capable of doing, we're actually taking learning experiences away from them. I'm gonna be handing full creative control over editing to him, so it's gonna look different. And I want him to be able to experiment with new things. I think he's gonna be able to do a way better job than I ever did. but it's gonna take a while to get there. As a dad, I'm wondering, like, how can I create a lifestyle and a house that facilitates growth and creativity and productivity and good work? As I think of how can I prepare my kids for the rest of their lives, for adulthood, to really become productive citizens or to worship God, it's actually by looking for opportunities for them to create and to do good work.
While Ben's writing, we're going to ballet. Harmony's joining. It's fun to see Eden and Memory learning new things, and I didn't realize how much ballet had to do with just stretching and getting more flexible. It's been fun too to see Filia and now Harmony join in on their lesson. I even tried to get some of my stretching in when they're doing that, because I'm like horrible at stretching. I like never stretch. I'm like so not flexible. We don't have many things outside of the home, so this is, I think, only thing that we have scheduled every week that's outside of our home. So it's been interesting to see how I and the family deals with that. I realize how spoiled I am, because this morning I was like, oh crap, we gotta go. And usually I don't have to go anywhere, and it's like wonderful and I love it.
Straight, left leg, on the bump, one, press that heel up.
We are on our way to a meeting that is fairly important. One of the things we haven't talked a lot about on this vlog is we've been involved in this process for at least the last year, where some folks accused us of some sin. So we've been really trying to figure out the most honorable way to go through this process. It's actually why we started going to therapy originally. And we're meeting with one of the guys that's kind of been leading this process, and I'm a bit nervous, but also a little relieved. It's been pretty difficult on our family, something we haven't talked a lot about because we want to prioritize the relationships that are involved in this process, and I think talking about it and them hearing about it over the vlog would be kind of weird and counterproductive. We decided to turn this little meeting into an impromptu lunch date. Yes.
That is so cool.
Thanks. Our server just asked us, are you vlogging? I said yes, and he said, that is so cool. One of the best parts of the buffet is this dessert. We call them soggy French toast balls. We just got out of this meeting. It went, I think, as good as can be expected. Cammy's a little frazzled. I am too on the inside, but are you gonna cry?
No, I have emotions of steel.
We posted this video about cussing 6 days ago, and there was a lot of really good stuff in the comment section that we read. Heather Q said, we don't call them bad words, we call them grown-up words. That is like exactly kind of what we're talking about, is words themselves aren't bad, but how we use them can definitely be instructed and taught. Christina says, I used to swear, but I feel that it was a form of lack of self-control. We should always express ourselves, but is swearing the best way to do that? Swearing is a form of slang. It seems to me to degrade human language. It sounds terrible to hear children swear. Does Jesus want people to swear? I find that scripture would not support this.
I appreciate you, Christina, sharing this because I'm sure it's what a lot of people feel, and I think it's what I used to feel. And I actually do think that it can be a lack of self-control, just like any words, any language, anything coming from your tongue can be a lack of self-control. But I don't think the words themselves, if I were to say swear words, means that I'm losing self-control. Is swearing the best way to do that? Sometimes. I think it could be. I think it's kind of a personal thing. I think for me personally, there's some times where no other words in the English language quite match what I'm feeling, and I think it's okay to feel it, and I think it's okay to express yourself in a way that, as long as you're not hurting someone else or yourself.
Christina, you ask, but is swearing the best way to do that? I don't think you're really asking that question. I think you already know the answer, because you said the next statement, swearing is a form of slang. It seems to me to degrade human language. And I think that's okay to think that, When we first moved to Bellevue, we used to make fun of the culture because it was all about slang. The culture, the people, the lifestyle. But we used to make fun of not the brokenness, we used to make fun of the slang, if that makes sense. We made fun of the way it looked. You know, oh, look at those people, their sweatpants are hanging off their ass, and that type of thing. We still have name tags. First of all, I don't think making fun of people is valuable. That's what we were doing. But we realized until we were able to talk their language, we would never be able to love them. We want to be different than people, but not just because we're language perfectionists. I think we should be able to use slang. I mean, I picture, this is the Christmas season, right? We're celebrating Jesus becoming a human. Like, what was more disrespectful in terms of form and function than to go from a God to a man? That's what Christians believe. You know, that's the ultimate, like, slang, if you will, the degradation of something. Something perfect, and you put it in a body, you know, with a penis and an asshole. You know, it like poops and eats now and burps. But it was beautiful because it was love. And I don't mind slang if it means hanging out with people that use slang to love them. And this is just what I'm talking about. I feel like forming a different culture that's like a higher and mightier culture or a perfectionist culture is dangerous for Christians. But I do agree with your question. I hope you keep on asking it. Is it the best way to love people? TMX Lima Beans says, I think most people would agree the F word means vulgar, meaningless act of intercourse. I disagree, actually. I know what you mean, and I think a lot of times it is that. So if I say, I fucked Cammie, then we would all agree that's that. And this is what I never understood when I didn't swear. Okay, I always thought, oh, that's a bad word. When I started hanging out with people that swear, it was like, oh, dude, I went to the fucking da-da-da yesterday, and then, oh, he fucking said da-da-da. And it's actually, it doesn't mean that. Now, I know it does mean that, but it's like how people use the word literally. They actually don't mean literally, they mean with emphasis. And we can be those people that are like the grammar police. You know, I don't know if you remember Mark, he used to say around our kids, they'd be like, her and I went, him and me went, and he'd say, no, her and I went. And he'd correct him in the middle of their sentence.
My mom used to do that too.
And he was right, but everyone hates you when you correct people's grammar. Like, you're right, but good job. Like, no one cares. I would rather be effective and touch people's hearts than to be right grammatically. But I like good grammar and communication too.
But if I'm around some conservative Christians, I might not say, "F you, Facebook." I might say, I don't really like Facebook.
Knowing your audience is really important.
But with other people, I feel like they would get it. Like they would get, oh, she means Facebook is stupid. Ashley Shepard says, I know I have anger issues, unforgiveness, I have enough guilt over it as it is. Sometimes I just want to swear. I'm skimming. I hate that other Christians can be so condemning and judgmental because I'm already have all this guilt for this. I can so relate to this. The longer I live, the more I realize everyone carries around a huge bag of guilt over their heads and condemnation. So anytime you try to add to that, even if you don't even know you're doing it, by like correcting someone or saying, oh, I don't think that's a good idea to do that, it just adds to it. And it's just good to know that that's what you're doing. And I feel like I'm on a journey where I'm trying to shed that guilt that Ashley's talking about that is not helpful, and the condemnation that it's just not helpful to me. And it's not even true. Like, God's not putting that heap of guilt on me.
Angela says, and this is why I unsubscribed from your channel. I found your views refreshing at first, but I can't imagine how you justifying your bad language brings glory to God. You guys think it's hilarious. I know I'll probably get blocked for sharing my opinion.
This kind of hits a nerve for me, because this is why, guys, because 10 years ago, I feel like I would have said the same thing. But the more I've grown in who I believe God is, the more I realize I don't believe this anymore. It helps for me to like picture Jesus literally hanging out with people who sold their bodies for sex all day long. And he went to those people. Why would he go to those people? And you know who was so pissed off about this? The religious people. Which, by the way, I was, and still in some ways deal with that.
Steinhauerstein says, we've got to love others more than ourselves. We've got to think about our words being a stumbling block. We're in a tough spot because I know we have a lot of religious folks listening to our vlog, and we don't want to offend them. And I don't want to be a stumbling block, but I think we need to at least how I've heard that definition of a stumbling block is us doing something causes someone else to do something, not just offends them. So us swearing causes you to swear, and then you feel like you're sinning because of it. Then I think we're guilty in a way. And I think we want to evaluate who we're talking to and be careful not to be offensive to most of our audience, because I think that would be ineffective. But what the challenge I have for you guys out there, if you're saying I'm not going to swear, is you need to come to grips with the fact that that might cut you off from a large section of society. Most Christians I know, including most of my life, we only hung out with other Christians and that culture. And that's really dangerous. And then we just look down on everyone else and we're like, well, I don't know why people aren't comfortable hanging out with me. It's because we look down on their culture. And it wasn't for a biblical reason. It was just because we created an alternate culture. Yvette Delaporte says, I do think you can be all things to all men by not swearing. I feel like I can go into a place where people smoke and say cuss words and fit in fine not using them. We're not telling you to swear, just to be clear. You know, you guys know your own context better. But I would also say that it's not up to us to decide this, it's the people that we're serving. And most of our lives, we were like, oh, we're gonna fit in, we're gonna say golly gee, and instead of having a beer, we're gonna have an apple juice, and we're just gonna be normal. But we weren't. And it wasn't because of the apple juice or the smoking, it was because of how we saw beer and cigarettes.
And swearing.
And if you see beer as bad, cigarettes as bad, smoking as bad, and a bunch of other things that people around you are doing, they will feel it. Mm-hmm. They will know that you see them as a project and you see them as less than. We cannot hide that.
And that's why in the last video, the last cussing video we did, I said that I was swearing for myself to remember that I am just like the person who swears like a sailor. Because I need to be reminded.
We are going to be late. Thank you guys so much for all these comments. This is a really special dialogue for us because I really hope it's something that you guys keep on thinking about. Eden made dinner tonight, and she made, what is that, Alfredo sauce?
Yeah.
Chunky,
Meatballs?
From the Chandler's farm.
We have had one of those days where it's like hard and you just wanna eat ice cream and veg out.
I felt like I came home from that meeting just feeling a lot of different emotions. Like I felt pretty hurt. I felt kind of angry. I felt like the world's against us. I felt depressed. I feel like if this sort of thing happened to us 10 years ago, it might have wrecked our marriage. All right, we're here.
Surprise!
Surprise! Good job, guys.
They cleaned the house while we were gone. Surprise.
Good.